Welcome back, coin hunters and treasure seekers. Today we are diving deep into one of the most collected and most talked about series in American numismatics, the Washington $quarter coins, first introduced in honor of George Washington. These coins have been circulating through American pockets for decades, and while most of them are only worth 25 cents, a few rare dates, mint marks, and special conditions have shocked collectors by reaching thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars in today's market. Before we jump into the list, there is something important to understand. In recent online discussions and viral coin videos, there have been claims and rumors about certain quarters being restricted or banned in 2026 due to errors, hoards, or government-related updates. However, in real numismatic reality, what truly drives value is rarity, condition, mint errors, and collector demand, not bans or restrictions. So today, we will focus on the real valuable Washington quarters that are making waves in the coin market right now. Let's get started. First up, we're diving deep into one of the most overlooked coins in American pocket change history. The legendary 1977 Washington quarter, a coin that might not look rare at first glance, but under the right conditions, could turn into a collector's hidden gem. Let's start by stepping back in time. The Washington quarter series began in 1932, originally issued to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, this coin quickly became a staple of everyday American commerce. By the time 1977 rolled around, the United States Mint was producing quarters in massive numbers, and the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, struck over 256 million of these coins that year. This was a period when coins were no longer made of silver. Since 1965, quarters had been produced using a copper-nickel clad composition, meaning the 1977 quarter contains no precious silver, just layers of copper and nickel bonded together. Now at this point, you might be thinking, with hundreds of millions made, how could this coin possibly be valuable? That's where things get interesting. Let's talk about the features of the 1977 Washington quarter, because understanding the details is the first step to spotting something special. On the front, or obverse, you'll see the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left, with the word Liberty above and the date 1977 below. Just to the right of Washington's ponytail, you'll find the small but crucial D mint mark, indicating it was struck in Denver. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the iconic eagle design, wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace. The words United States of America and $quarter frame the design, while E pluribus unum sits just above the eagle. The coin weighs about 5.67 grams, measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge, those tiny ridges you can feel when you run your finger along the side. At first glance, everything about this coin seems standard, ordinary, even boring. But in the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. When we talk about a very fine condition, or VF, we're referring to a coin that has seen circulation but still retains clear details. You can still see Washington's hairlines, the eagle's feathers, and most of the design elements, though there is noticeable wear. And here's the truth that many people don't realize: a 1977 quarter in very fine condition is usually worth only slightly above its face value, often around 25 to 50 cents depending on the market. Yes, that's right, most of these coins are still just pocket change. But don't click away just yet, because the real story isn't about the average coin. It's about the exceptions. As condition improves, so does value dramatically. Uncirculated versions of the 1977 quarter, especially those graded MS-63 or higher, can sell for anywhere from a few dollars to around $25 or more. And if you're lucky enough to find a near-perfect specimen, something graded MS-66 or MS-67, the value can jump into the hundreds of dollars. In rare cases, exceptional examples or error coins have sold for several hundred, even thousands, depending on their uniqueness and condition. That's the difference a grade can make. Because while millions were made, very few survived in pristine condition. Most were heavily circulated, scratched, worn down, or damaged over decades of use. Finding one in near-perfect shape today is like finding a time capsule from 1977. And then there are error coins. Occasionally, something goes wrong during the minting process. Maybe the coin is struck off-center, maybe it's printed on the wrong metal, or maybe there's a doubling effect in the design. These errors can transform an otherwise common coin into a collector's dream, with values reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the rarity of the mistake. So how do you know if your 1977 quarter is worth more than 25 cents? It comes down to a few simple but powerful tips. Always check the condition. Look closely at the details, especially Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. The sharper the details, the higher the potential value. Examine the mint mark. Make sure the D is clear and not damaged or altered. Off-center strikes, unusual coloring, or strange markings could indicate something rare. And finally, if you think you've found something special, consider getting your coin professionally graded by a trusted service. That certification can significantly increase its market value and credibility. Because in coin collecting, knowledge is power and patience is profit. So what's the final verdict on the 1977 D Washington quarter in very fine condition? For most people, it's a humble coin worth just a little more than face value. But for collectors, it's a reminder that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary potential. Because hidden among millions of common coins, there's always the chance, however small, that one could be worth far more than you ever imagined. And that's the thrill of coin hunting. Don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Because you never know, that small piece of metal might just be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Next up, we are looking at a coin that many people have passed over without a second glance, the 1985 D Washington quarter dollar. It may sit in the common change category for most collectors, but every coin has a story, and every coin has a market. This one carries the familiar face of George Washington, the Denver D mint mark, and the classic clad quarter design used in the modern era. It was struck on the standard Washington quarter planchet, measuring 24.30 millimeters, weighing 5.67 grams, with a reeded edge and the copper-nickel clad composition that defines this era. To understand the 1985 D quarter, we first have to understand the Washington quarter series itself. The Washington quarter began in 1932, and the modern clad version continued the same basic portrait of Washington with the eagle reverse used from 1965 through 1998. On the obverse, Washington faces left with liberty above and I in God we trust beside the portrait, while the reverse shows a perch eagle with United States of America and quarter dollar around the rim. John Flanagan is credited as the designer, and that timeless look is one reason this coin feels so familiar to Americans who have handled it for decades. The Denver Mint struck a massive 519,962,888 pieces in 1985, which is a big reason this date is so common in circulation. Now let us talk about the unique features of this coin. The D mint mark tells us it came from Denver, and that mint mark appears on the obverse near Washington's portrait. The coin is not silver. It is a clad quarter made of 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper core. That means its value is not driven by precious metal content, but by condition, eye appeal, collector demand, and whether it has any mint errors or exceptional preservation. In normal worn circulation, it looks like millions of other quarters from the same era, but in higher grades it can begin to show sharper details, stronger luster, and much more collector appeal. When it comes to rarity, this is where honesty matters. The 1985 D Washington quarter is not a rare coin in fine condition. In fact, it is a very common date with a very large mintage, and most circulated examples trade close to face value. NGC's March 2026 guide places circulated 1985 Washington quarters at roughly 30 cents to 85 cents, which tells you immediately that a typical worn example is not a hidden jackpot. That said, the story changes in better grades. A sharply preserved example with strong original surfaces can bring much stronger prices, and auction archives show that certified examples of the 1985 D quarter have sold from low single digits up to the thousands depending on grade, with PCGS listing an auction record of $1,680 for an MS67 example. So what is the current market value in dollars? For a fine condition 1985 D quarter, the practical answer is modest. Fine condition means the coin has noticeable wear but still shows major design details, and for this date that usually means a value near face value to just a little above it. In other words, a normal fine example is not the kind of coin that will change your life. The real premium begins when a coin is uncirculated, sharply struck, or exceptionally clean. USA Coin Book lists the 1985 D quarter at about $11 or more in uncirculated mint state, which shows how condition can completely change the picture. And if you move all the way up into top-grade certified territory, the market can become far more dramatic, especially for superb gems. For collectors, the best advice is to slow down and look at the details. Do not judge the coin only by the date. Study the hair above Washington's forehead, the cheek and jawline, the feathers on the eagle, the rims, and the overall surface texture. A coin that has original mint luster, no harsh cleaning, and minimal bag marks will always be more attractive than a dull, damaged example. If you are building a set, compare several 1985D quarters side by side, because slight differences in strike quality and eye appeal can matter more than people expect. And if you ever find a coin that looks unusual, such as one that is off-center, clipped, or shows dramatic doubling, that is the moment to pause and have it evaluated by a knowledgeable coin dealer or third-party grading service. The final takeaway is simple. The 1985D Washington quarter is a classic modern circulation coin, not a famous rarity, but it still has a place in the collector world because every grade tells a different story. In fine condition, it is usually a modest value coin. In high grade, it can become much more interesting. And in the hands of a patient collector, even a common quarter can become part of a satisfying, carefully built collection. Next up, the United States Washington quarter dollar from 1980, especially those rare examples featuring mint mark errors that can turn an ordinary 25-cent coin into a surprisingly valuable collectible worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. Imagine holding a simple coin in your hand, the kind you might receive in everyday change, and realizing that it could be a rare mint error hiding in plain sight. That is exactly the kind of excitement the 1980 Washington quarter brings to the world of numismatics. The Washington quarter series itself has a rich and important place in American history. First introduced in 1932 by the United States Mint, the coin was created to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first President of the United States. The design was crafted by sculptor John Flanagan, and it quickly became one of the most iconic and widely recognized coins in circulation. By 1980, the Washington quarter had already been in production for nearly 5 decades, circulating through millions of hands across the country. Now, the 1980 issue was minted at multiple facilities of the United States Mint, including Philadelphia and Denver. The mint mark, a small letter found on the coin indicating where it was produced, plays a crucial role in determining its value, especially when something goes wrong during production. In rare cases, coins from this year were struck with mint mark errors or irregularities, making them highly desirable among collectors. These errors can include misplaced mint marks, doubled mint marks, weak strikes, or even missing mint marks entirely. What makes the 1980 Washington quarter truly interesting is that it belongs to a transitional era in U.S. coin production. By this time, the mint had already adopted more advanced machinery, but human oversight and mechanical imperfections still led to occasional mistakes. These mistakes, instead of reducing value, often increase it dramatically in the collector's market. When we examine the features of the coin, the obverse side displays the classic profile of George Washington facing left, a design that has remained consistent for decades. The inscriptions "Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust" and the year 1980 are clearly visible. On the reverse side, the coin features the majestic American eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing both military strength and peace. The words United States of America and quarter dollar complete the design. In normal circulated condition, a 1980 Washington quarter is worth only its face value of 25 cents. However, the story changes completely when we introduce mint errors and exceptional preservation. Coins that show unusual mint mark placement or doubling, especially those struck on high-quality planchets and preserved in very fine or extremely fine condition, can attract strong attention from collectors. Rarity is the key factor here. Most 1980 quarters were heavily circulated, meaning they show signs of wear, scratches, and loss of detail. Finding one in very fine condition with a noticeable mint mark error is significantly harder than finding a regular example. That scarcity creates demand, and demand drives value in the collector's market. Coin enthusiasts often search through rolls of quarters hoping to discover these hidden gems, and even a small error can dramatically increase interest. In today's coin collecting market, the value of a 1980 Washington quarter with a mint mark error can vary widely depending on the type of error and the condition of the coin. In general, circulated error examples might sell anywhere from $10 to $50, while better preserved coins in very fine to extremely fine condition can reach $100 to $300. In rare cases where the error is dramatic and the coin is in near mint condition, auction prices can climb even higher, sometimes reaching $500 or more depending on collector demand. Professional grading also plays an important role. Coins certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC tend to achieve higher prices because buyers trust their authenticity and condition assessment. A small difference in grade can mean a big difference in value. For collectors, the key tip is simple but powerful: always check your change carefully. Look closely at the mint mark area. usually located near the date on Washington quarters of this era. Use good lighting or even a magnifying glass if needed. Pay attention to any signs of doubling, misalignment, or missing marks. Also, preserve any potential finds properly by storing them in coin holders to prevent further wear. Another important tip is patience. Rare coins are not found every day. Many valuable discoveries come from simply observing coins that others overlook. Building knowledge about minting errors and studying reference images can significantly improve your chances of identifying something valuable. This journey into the 1980 Washington quarter with mint mark errors, it becomes clear why this coin continues to attract attention from collectors around the world. It represents more than just currency. It represents history, craftsmanship, and the excitement of discovery hidden in everyday life. Next up, we are diving deep into the 1987 Washington quarter in very fine condition, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but carries hidden collector interest, historical significance, and surprising market value when preserved or graded properly. To truly understand this coin, we must first step back into its background. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor the 200th birth anniversary of George Washington, the first President of the United States. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin quickly became a permanent part of American currency due to its strong patriotic symbolism and practical design. By 1987, the Washington Quarter had already been in circulation for over 5 decades, still carrying the same iconic portrait of Washington on the obverse and the majestic bald eagle on the reverse. The 1987 mint mark indicates that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the most important and historic minting facilities in the United States. Now, when we closely examine the unique features of the 1987 Washington Quarter, we find that it is composed of a copper-nickel clad structure, containing 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams and has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. The obverse side displays the well-known profile of George Washington with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the year 1987. On the reverse side, a powerful bald eagle is shown with outstretched wings, symbolizing strength and freedom, surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America, quarter dollar, and the motto E Pluribus Unum. Even though millions were minted, every small detail still reflects the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint during the late 20th century. When it comes to mintage and rarity, the 1987 Washington Quarter is not considered rare in terms of production numbers. In fact, more than 582 million coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone. Because of this extremely high mintage, most examples are still common in circulation today. However, the real story changes when we talk about condition. Coins that survive in very fine condition or higher, especially those with sharp details, minimal wear, and strong luster, begin to attract collector attention. While circulated examples remain close to face value, high-grade pieces become significantly more desirable in the numismatic market. This brings us to the current market value of the 1987 Washington Quarter. In everyday circulated condition, the coin is generally worth its face value of 25 cents. However, in very fine condition, collectors may see slightly higher value depending on eye appeal and preservation, often ranging from a few dollars up to around $50 to $90 in strong collector markets. In uncirculated or mint state grades, the value can rise further, with some high-grade examples reaching tens or even hundreds of dollars at auction depending on grading certification and quality. As research shows, top-grade specimens can reach significantly higher prices compared to normal circulated pieces, sometimes exceeding $1,000 or more in exceptional MS67 or above conditions. For collectors, the key to understanding value in this coin lies not in rarity of mintage, but in condition, strike quality, and preservation. A 1987 quarter that has been carefully stored without scratches, cleaning, or environmental damage can stand out from millions of others. Collectors often look for strong luster, sharp eagle feather detail, and minimal wear on Washington's hair and cheek area. These small details can make a big difference in overall grading and final value. If you are a coin collector or just starting your journey, there are a few important tips to keep in mind. Always handle coins by the edges to avoid fingerprints that can damage the surface over time. Never clean coins, as cleaning can dramatically reduce their collector value. Store them in proper holders or coin flips to preserve their condition. And most importantly, learn how to grade coins using standard grading scales like very fine, extremely fine, and mint state. because grading directly determines value in the coin market. The 1987 P Washington quarter may be a legendary rare coin from the past, but it remains an important part of modern U.S. coinage history. Its value is driven not by scarcity, but by condition and collector demand. For most people, it will remain a common 25-cent piece, but for careful collectors who find high-grade examples, it can become a small but meaningful treasure. Next up, we are focusing on one of the most commonly overlooked coins in circulation, the 1974 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark, found in circulated condition. At first glance, it may look like just another 25-cent coin, but for collectors and coin enthusiasts, even the most common coins carry history, design beauty, and the possibility of surprising value in today's coin market. To truly understand this coin, we need to travel back in time to the early 1970s. A period when the United States economy and coin production were experiencing massive demand. The 1974 Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it carries no mint mark. In fact, this is not an error or rarity by itself. It is completely normal for Philadelphia coins of that era. More than 801 million quarters were produced that year alone, making it one of the most heavily minted coins in the Washington quarter series. Because of this enormous production, the 1974 quarter became a true workhorse of everyday American commerce, passing through millions of hands, vending machines, cash registers, and pockets across the country. The design of the coin remains one of the most iconic in U.S. history. On the obverse, we see the powerful profile of George Washington, the first President of the United States, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. The inscription "Liberty" curves gracefully along the top, while "I in God We Trust" stands boldly to the left. The date 1974 is placed at the bottom, marking its place in modern U.S. coinage history. On the reverse, the majestic eagle with outstretched wings sits proudly above a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and preparedness, while olive branches beneath represent peace. Surrounding the design are the words "United States of America" and quarter dollar, completing its classic and patriotic appearance. This coin is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, meaning it contains no silver, unlike older quarters from before 1965. It weighs approximately 5.67 grams and has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. While it may not contain precious metal value, its design and historical role in circulation still make it an important part of American numismatic history. Now, when we talk about rarity, the truth about the 1974 no mint mark quarter in circulated condition is very important. Because of its extremely high mintage, this coin is not considered rare in general circulation. Millions still exist today, and many are still found in everyday pocket change. In circulated condition, meaning the coin has been used in daily transactions and shows visible wear, most examples remain extremely common. The details on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers are usually softened, and the coin often loses its original mint luster over time. However, in the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. While a heavily circulated 1974 quarter might not attract much attention, higher-grade examples from the same year can become significantly more desirable. Coins that remain in near-perfect condition, especially those graded mint state 65 or higher, can sometimes sell for small premiums. But in circulated grades, which is what most people find, the value typically remains close to face value. The value of a 1974 Washington quarter without mint mark in circulated condition is generally modest. Most circulated examples are worth face value, meaning 25 cents. However, if the coin is in very fine condition with minimal wear, it can sometimes sell for around $10 to $30 depending on the buyer and market demand. If it is in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially with strong luster and sharp details, it may reach anywhere from $50 to $200. Rare error varieties can go even higher, sometimes reaching $500 or more, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error. While it is a $1 million coin, its value lies in collectability, historical significance, and the excitement of discovery. For collectors, this is where the real lesson comes in. Even though the 1974 quarter is not rare, it still plays an important role in building a complete Washington quarter collection. Beginners often start with coins like this because they are affordable, widely available, and perfect for learning grading skills. If you are collecting, always examine your coins carefully under good lighting. Look for sharp details, strong luster, and unusual features like misprints or striking errors. While most 1974 quarters will be standard, error coins such as off-center strikes or double dies can sometimes carry unexpected value. Collectors are always advised not to clean their coins, as cleaning can significantly reduce value even for common coins. It is also smart to store coins in protective holders to preserve their condition over time. Patience is key in numismatics, because sometimes the real value of a coin is not what it is worth today, but what it could become in the future if preserved properly. The 1974 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark in circulated condition is a classic example of a common but historically important U.S. coin. While it may not bring big money in today's market, it represents an era of massive production and everyday American life. Next up, we are diving deep into one of those fascinating hidden gems of modern U.S. coinage, the 1983 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it may look like just another everyday coin you might receive in change at a store. But for collectors and numismatists, this small silver-colored quarter carries a story, a history, and in certain conditions, a value that can surprise even experienced coin hunters. To truly understand the 1983 Washington quarter, we need to step back into the early 1980s, a time of economic challenge and transition in the United States. The country was recovering from recession, and the U.S. Mint was adjusting its production strategies to meet budget limitations. In 1983, over 673 million quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone, identified by the P Mint mark. This massive mintage means the coin was never intended to be rare in circulation. However, something interesting happened that changed the story for collectors decades later. Unlike many other years, the U.S. Mint did not produce official uncirculated mint sets for 1982 and 1983. This small detail created what collectors now call a conditional rarity. While millions of coins entered circulation, very few were preserved in pristine, high-grade condition. Over time, most were spent, damaged, or heavily circulated. This is why even a common 1983 quarter can become surprisingly valuable if it survives in exceptional condition. Now, looking at the design and features of this coin, we see the classic Washington quarter design created by John Flanagan. The obverse of the coin features the iconic profile of George Washington, the first president of the United States, facing left. Above his portrait is the inscription Liberty, while the national motto I in God We Trust is displayed prominently. The date 1983 appears below, along with the small P Mint mark indicating Philadelphia production. On the reverse side, the coin showcases the heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows in its talons, symbolizing military strength, and an olive branch representing peace. The design is surrounded by the words United States of America and quarter dollar, completing the strong and patriotic imagery that has defined the Washington quarter series for decades. The coin itself is composed of a copper-nickel-clad structure, containing 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, with a total weight of 5.67 grams. It has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a reeded edge, making it identical in physical appearance to other Washington quarters of the era. When it comes to rarity and collector demand, the 1983 quarter presents a unique case. In average circulated condition, these coins are extremely common and typically worth only face value or slightly more. However, as the condition improves, the value begins to rise significantly. In fine condition, which means the coin shows moderate wear but still retains clear major details, the value remains relatively low, often just a small premium above face value. In higher grades like extremely fine or about uncirculated, collectors may pay a few dollars, but the real excitement begins in mint state condition. Because so few high-quality examples were preserved from that year, a well-struck, uncirculated 1983 quarter can be considered scarce. Market data shows that lower mint state examples may sell for around $10 to $60, while higher grades can reach into the hundreds. In exceptional top grades, especially those certified by professional grading services, prices can climb significantly higher, sometimes reaching several $100s or more depending on eye appeal and demand. It is important to note that certain varieties and errors can increase the value even more. Some collectors actively search for features such as die cracks, double dies, or the famous spitting eagle variety, where a small die break near Washington's mouth resembles a spit mark toward the eagle. These varieties can sometimes bring additional premiums in the collector market. Now let's talk about current market value in dollars. In average circulated condition, the 1983 Washington quarter is still worth just 25 cents. Even in fine condition, it usually remains within face value or maybe a few dollars at most depending on collector interest. However, in uncirculated mint state condition, values can range from around $1,500 to $2,000 for typical MS-63 to MS-65 examples. When you reach premium grades like MS-66, the value can climb into the $25,000 to $75,000 range. In exceptional cases, especially MS-67 or coins with strong eye appeal, auction prices have been known to reach several $100s. The true value spike comes not from the date alone, but from condition, rarity, and grading certification. For collectors who are interested in adding the 1983 P quarter to their collection, there are a few important tips to keep in mind. First, always check the condition carefully under good lighting or with a magnifier, because small scratches and wear can significantly reduce value. Second, look for coins that appear untouched or have strong original luster, as these are more likely to grade higher. Third, if you believe you have a high-grade example or a possible error coin, professional grading services can help authenticate and potentially increase its market value. And finally, patience is key. Many valuable coins are discovered not in expensive auctions, but in ordinary pocket change, bank rolls, or old collections. The 1983 P Washington quarter dollar is a perfect example of how modern coins can still hold collectible value when condition and rarity align. While most examples remain common and inexpensive, the story changes completely when you find one preserved in high grade or with a rare variety. It is a reminder that sometimes, the coins we overlook every day may carry hidden potential. So the next time you receive a 1983 quarter in your change, take a closer look. You might just be holding a small piece of numismatic opportunity in your hand. Washington quarters are far more than everyday pocket change. They are pieces of American history tied directly to the legacy of George Washington and preserved through decades of minting by the United States Mint. While viral claims about banned coins in 2026 may grab attention, the real excitement lies in understanding rarity, condition, and true collector demand. So the next time you receive change, take a closer look. You might just be holding a small silver treasure worth far more than 25 cents. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more amazing coin discoveries, hidden treasures, and valuable coin updates just like this. Thanks for watching and happy collecting.